If you wish to address the board, please fill out a public meeting appearance card and present it to the town secretary.
We don't have any speakers at this point, but I do have some that signed up for the public hearings.
Okay, thank you. We are here to discuss and consider approval of the April 1st, 2025 Board of Adjustment meeting minutes. Please look those over. And do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second. Bill, second. Thank you.
All in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you. And we are here to conduct a public hearing to hear the public comment and consider the variance to Bartonville zoning ordinance section 19.4 relating to the accessory building setbacks. The property subject to the variance request is located at 1032 Roadrunner in Bartonville. The applicants are requesting a 15 reduction in the interior side yard setback for proposed new detached accessory structure. The applicants are Alan and Kim Griggs. Okay, Ron. Do you need to be sworn in?
Yes, he does.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good evening, board members. Ryan Wells, town planner. I'll be giving the staff presentation on the variance request located at 1032 Roadrunner Road, Town of Bartonville, project number BAR 2025-002. So this is a rather simple variance request. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the interior side yard setback for an accessory building from 50 feet to 35 feet, which equates to a 15-foot reduction on their property located in the RE5 zoning district. So they have a home that, according to county records, was constructed in about 2000. The parcel as a whole is about 5.6 acres in size. And the owner wishes to construct an approximately 2,400 square foot metal accessory building with a 12-foot attached lean-to in their side yard, which is basically the area on the left side or the western side of their property, of their primary residence. The desired location is approximately 35 feet from the western interior side property line, which as the image shows is on the left side of their property, which is in the middle of the image. The property again is zoned residential estates 5, RE5, which is the minimum 5-acre lot size. The zoning district has an interior side yard setback of the lesser of 50 feet or 10% of the lot width. As this property exceeds 500 feet in width, the setback for this parcel is 50 feet. That means the interior side yard setback to the parcel would be 50 feet from the western property line before any structure could be constructed. Again, they wish to construct an accessory building in a location to extend the existing driveway and minimize impact to existing mature trees. I'll allow the applicant to provide their own justification as to why they're asking for the variance, but that's the information stated in their application. The image on the right here shows the extension or proposed extension of the driveway and where that building will be located. It's kind of in the southwestern corner of the property. Again, this variance request includes reducing the interior side yard setback from 50 feet to 35 feet. Were to be approved, all other dimensional standards, permitting requirements would be upheld. The approval of variance is not issuance of a permit. They would still have to apply for a permit for the accessory building and whatnot. So once again, a 5.6 acre parcel in the RE5 zoning district. The property is located about 535 feet east of the intersection of Roadrunner Road and Dove Creek Road. Again, we're back with all these approval criteria. I'm gonna briefly summarize them, and as your notes, for, making a motion indicate, the criteria in the code are actually labeled with A, B, C, D, E, et cetera. And I kind of in error, listed these as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the presentation, but please be sure in your deliberation and any motions that you refer to the criteria in their letter, designations rather than numerical, okay? So, approval criteria A, is that there are special circumstances or conditions arising from the physical surrounding shape, topography, or other features affecting the land, et cetera, et cetera. Again, all these are spelled out in more detail in your staff summary, so I'm not gonna read these verbatim. Criterion B would be that the circumstances causing the hardship do not similarly affect all or most properties in the vicinity. C is that the variance is necessary for preservation and enjoyment of substantial property rights. D would be granting the variance petition will not be detrimental to public health, safety, or welfare. E will be granting the variance would not have the effect of preventing orderly use and enjoyment of other land within the area. F would be granting the variance petition is consistent with any special criteria applicable to varying particular standards. G would be the hardship is not self-induced. H is that the request is not based exclusively on financial gain. So they can't request the variance just to save money or make money. And I would be the degree the variance request is the minimum amount necessary to meet the needs of the petitioner. So the two scenarios that we're evaluating here, if the variance were approved tonight, the request would permit the construction of an approximately 2,400 square foot accessory building about 35 feet from the western property line of the subject property, otherwise subject to all other setback and dimensional standards of the RE5 district. Image on the right, the red square indicates where they want to build it, and that's basically where they would build it if the variance were approved. In the alternate case, if the variance were denied, that would mean that the accessory building would have to meet all setback requirements for the RE5 district, which includes a 50-foot interior side yard setback from the western property line. It means it would push the building about 15 feet to the east, encroaching into the tree line that they show in their aerial photographs, but otherwise meeting all other dimensional standards for the RE5 district. That completes my brief presentation. I'm happy to take any questions now or later on in this deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you, Remy.
Anybody have any questions before you have the applicant come up and speak? Okay, then, Mr. Griggs, if you would come up to the podium, state your name and your address, and then give us the presentation.
Have you swear your name?
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Please raise your right hand. Please swear to tell the truth, the whole truth about the testimony you're about to give and nothing but the truth.
I do.
All right, thank you. Please state your name and address.
Al Griggs, 1032 Roadrunner Road, Bartonville, Texas.
Thank you.
First off, thank you guys for taking the consideration on this variance. I put quite a bit of time into trying to figure out the best place to locate this barn. Been kind of considering it for a number of months, actually probably closer to years. The backstory on this that I'll add, and I appreciate very much the very thorough explanation was provided earlier. But the backstory on this is when we moved in probably 5 or 6 years or so ago, this property was loaded with trees. Still a lot of trees here, but I've had a terrible time with trees, a lot of the post oaks dying. I had 4 different arborists out working with them to try and solve this issue. And this is really comes down to just trying to preserve as many of them as possible. And so as I have looked to try and locate this property pretty much everywhere or anywhere on the place, I can't locate the size of this facility or this building without actually taking out a number of trees, unless I am able to move it to the 15-foot mark that I've asked for. And so it really comes down to this. And interestingly is that as it was explained, if I actually push it to 50 foot versus 35 foot away from the fence and into that grove of trees, which I have been told that as soon as I push it in that direction, those trees will die, whether or not I actually take them out early or not. That's probably one of the healthiest stands of trees on the whole place. And so I'm just trying to, in this situation, preserve as many areas as I can. Probably didn't have to do this, I could have literally just gone ahead and taken them out, built a building on that place with the 50 foot. But again, I'm just trying to kind of preserve as many as possible, so it's as simple as that.
Thank you.
So you say in here that you have a letter from the neighbor?
And I'll read that in the later.
What's the size of your property in the acre?
About 5.6 acres.
What, are you gonna use this building for?
So you will actually see on the pictures, there's actually a horse trailer there, another trailer, a flatbed
You're not
trailer.
gonna have water, water and that.
No, I mean, I'll have a couple of hydrants around the property just for hose, but there's nothing, there's no sewage or anything along that line.
Won't be anybody living.
No, sir.
So this will be like a barn for animals?
You know, there's a lean-to on it, which would be, there's a couple of cows that my neighbors and I share that roam between our two properties that they would be into, but it's just been a lean-to section. Most of the way to, sorry,
The lean-to is on the west side
the lean-to is actually on the east side.
and the east side.
Two park trailers.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, a couple of trailers, probably a lawnmower, a tractor, that's about it.
Looking at the aerial view, why couldn't you move that further south, the building further south?
Yeah, look.
Like there's more of the opening in the tree.
There is, but there is a nice, very big, pretty oak tree right there towards the end. If I back that up very far at all, I'm gonna get pretty close to it. And again, I'm trying to preserve that one. It doesn't show it there. But there is one a little further back. The other thing is the way the barn is designed is there's actually a door at the back and a door at the front that I'm able to pull trailers from the front into the back. And the front, unfortunately, is gonna cause problem. The other thing is that land right there where it is located is pretty rocky right there. It slopes off fairly hard. And that means that I have to be putting a fairly decent ramp to the back.
I think it's a building.
40 by 60. And the lean-to is 12 foot on the side in addition.
You know how old this picture is that's up here? Is this a recent aerial view?
It was a Google Maps shot is all I took, so it was done probably within the last month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Open the public hearing at 6:13 p.m.
I do have one statement in favor from one of their neighbors, David and Brandy Stanford. And they are at 1000 Roadrunner Road. My neighbor Alan Griggs has reviewed with me where he desires to construct a new 60 by 40 metal building on his lot at 1032 Roadrunner Road. The desired location is within 30 feet of our common property line, requiring a 15-foot reduction to the interior side yard setback. I am agreeable to this location and the variance requested. And I do not have anybody that has signed up to speak, but if there's somebody here after hearing the presentations, is anybody here that wants to speak on this item?
I would like to ask the applicant, is that the neighbor that shares your right there? They're they're major impacted, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the one you share the cows with?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it's a good relationship. Thank you.
There's nobody else.
Okay. I'll close the public hearing at 6:14 p.m.
If you're ready. Sure. Madam Chair, I move to approve the variance requested to allow the construction of accessory building approximately 35 feet from the western property line of the subject property. Otherwise subject to all other permitting setbacks and dimensional standards of the AHU zoning district because the variance meets the following requirements. Under the factors in zoning ordinance section A.3.b of appendix A, and the items that I'm citing are A, E, and H.
I would like to make a correction on the motion, or at least recommend one, to reference the AG zoning district, it should be the RE5 zoning district.
Would you like me to say that section again?
You just say- I think you can just say as
Okay.
corrected.
As correct. Thank you.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we will conduct a public hearing to hear the public comment in consideration of a variance. Bartonville Development Ordinance, section 3.5 relating to flag lots. Bartonville zoning ordinance, section 4.8 relating to residential development standards. The property subject to the variance request is located at 1288 Porter Road in Bartonville, Texas. The applicant is requesting a reduction of the public road frontage and authorization to construct a flag lot on one of the 7 proposed parcels. The applicant is Jeff Warlow.
Pretty good.
Thank you. Okay, now presentation from Ryan.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. All right, so this second variance application that we're considering tonight is for a property located at 1288 Porter Road here in Bartonville. The project number is the VAR 2025-003. So there are actually 2 variances requested in this application. One is to be able to construct lot 4 of the subdivision indicated in the exhibits as a flag lot, which is explicitly prohibited in the Bartonville Development Ordinance, or BDO, section 3.5. And directly related to that, it's also permitting the reduction of the public road frontage width of the same lot, lot 4, from the 200-foot minimum for the RE2 zoning district, as found in Bartonville zoning ordinance, or BZO, section 4.8, to approximately 109 feet. So the subject property consists of 2 tracts of land totaling approximately 21.79 acres. The entire property is zoned Residential Estates 2, or RE2, which is a residential zoning district with a minimum 2-acre lot size. The applicant wishes to subdivide the property into 7 new parcels ranging in size from 1.62 to 5.11 acres as shown in the exhibits. I put an asterisk there next to that 1.62, because we'll talk about that in a few minutes. 6 of the proposed parcels all intended for residential use, but Porter Road, and there's a remaining parcel which will be accessed via a recorded access easement, which is intended, I believe, to remain used as a utility or gas production type of property, as it is currently. So the RE2 zoning district requires a minimum of 200 feet width for each parcel abutting the public street. That's found in section 4.8 of the Bartonville zoning ordinance. So the first variance request is to permit lot 4, which is the blue lot indicated in this image, to have a frontage width of approximately 109 feet. And as you can see by the shape of it, that's also a flag lot, which is going to the second variance request, which again, BDO section 3.5 explicitly prohibits flag lots to be developed or created through a subdivision. Variance request number 2 would permit that same lot 4 to be a flag lot based on the configuration of property and the presence of those 2 parcels, which are not included in the project, that abut Porter Road, that basically the lot needs to kind of crawl around in order to meet that minimum 2-acre lot size. So again, the definition of a flag lot from the Bartonville code itself is that it's a residential lot having less than the required street frontage. And the buildable area or front building line is located behind an adjacent lot fronting the same street. So this is a textbook definition, textbook example of a flag lot. So again, this property is 21.79 acres, consisting of 2 tracts, zone RE2, and it's at the southern end of Porter Road, abutting the Flower Mound municipal boundary. So it's the last property on Porter Road until you get to Flower Mound. We're not gonna go through the criteria again, if that's okay. Y'all know pretty well what these criteria are, but again, please reference those in any discussion and motions for this request. So I'm just gonna go through that. So, again, the 2 scenarios that could be the outcomes of tonight's consideration. First is if the variances are both approved, and I'm kind of looking at, you have 2 variances to act upon, and you could in theory approve one and deny the other, but they're so interconnected that it would be kind of difficult to do that. So assuming that if they were both approved, that would allow the creation of a 7-lot subdivision where one of the parcels will be a flag lot with a street frontage of approximately 109 feet. That parcel being lot 4 as indicated in the blue, surrounded by the yellow line. The subdivision would otherwise be subject to all other dimensional standards of the Bartonville Development Ordinance and the RE2 zoning district. I will also say, again, a variance does not approve a plat. It doesn't vest anything other than the allowance of an adjustment to the standards in the code. So if the variance were approved, they would still need to go through the whole platting process with preliminary and final plat at Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council. So this is just, again, that alteration of the applicable standards. The first asterisk, kind of going back to the introduction to this project, is that the lots would need to be reconfigured slightly to maintain a 2-acre lot minimum. By the power of deduction, I determined that gas well site would be about 1.67 acres as shown here on the map. So there would have to be some adjustments to some of those residential lots through the planning process to meet the minimum 2-acre standard for the zoning district. And then again, that second asterisk is what I just talked about. It does not vest the subdivision if the variance is approved. If denied, the variance, if it were denied, means that the subdivision would have to meet all requirements of the RE2 zone without exception, which includes the prohibition of flag lots and a minimum road frontage of 200 feet for each parcel. This would most likely necessitate a reduction in the number of parcels in the subdivision. Again, same thing, lots would need to be reconfigured to maintain 2-acre lot minimum. So for example, in order to meet all the strict standards of the development ordinance and zoning district, say that middle lot will basically have to encompass lots 3 and 4 to meet the minimum 200-foot frontage and not technically be a flag lot. I will just say, we met with the applicant early on in the process, and he initially had 7 residential lots, and this shows 6. And so he already did some kind of minor adjustments to the site to try to minimize the number of variances that would be needed to make this project work for him and to acknowledge that there are standards that would need to be adjusted nonetheless. So again, the six lots is what he's proposing today for residential, plus that one remainder gas field lot. So that's my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
So Ryan, when you say, it's approving the variance, but not the plat. So if we approve a variance for a flag lot, could that flag lot spot move, or is it gotta be where it's drawn here?
I think it would need to be basically as presented. Yeah, you can't,
They don't then have a right to.
no, they can't make another flag lot, they can't make a second flag lot. It would really need to follow the exhibits that, are being referenced in their application.
And then when you showed the, if denied drawing, lot 3 and 4 were together. Could the developer not put a driveway in there and, because that's 200 feet, and then have 2 homes kind of wide out in the back part of the land?
No, because then you have 2 lots there and you're still, yeah, because you can't have more than one primary residence on a lot.
Okay.
And so it's really, you can't do it other than other than having a single lot, each lot having that 200-foot frontage, that's the minimum in for the RE2 zoning district. And even if it were to wrap around, you still have enough kind of buildable area in the southern portion, or I guess technically the eastern portion, because this is turned 90 degrees. The front building line would serve along Porter Road rather than, behind those other outlaws.
And what is the access to that utility?
So there's a recorded access easement from 2010. I actually dug it up and referenced it in the presentation here. It provides specific access and actually has a pipeline underneath it from what the records say to that gas well site.
And that's on the left side of lot?
Yeah, that's right. So that would be technically part of lot one, but it will provide essentially deeded access to that utility.
So you couldn't push that to get to lot three or four?
No, it only would provide access to that cutout area.
Okay, when you say that then becomes a 1.16 acre lot, they're gonna have to trim 1, 2, and 3 to take that to 2.
Probably 1 and 3, because 2 is, I think, right there at 2 acres already, so they couldn't reduce that, but I mean, just shave a couple feet off of each side of 1 and 3, just to make it that minimum 2 acre lot size. And then they'd be meeting that standard.
But that would never be sellable for residents because it doesn't have any road frontage.
Some cities act a little bit differently. If there's a deeded access to it via easement, it is technically for utilities, it's for gas, gas well generation, so. It will be zone RE2, so there's a possibility that in the long distance future, but it's a gas well right now. And it would basically be serving as part of this subdivision.
But maybe one day they would change that easement to a driveway and have a house back there.
It's possible, yeah,
Which would make another flag lot.
Yeah.
it would, yeah.
So I have a couple questions about why the zoning. I think I could imagine why we don't like flag lots of having hidden stuff behind or deep driveways or encroaches, but what is the philosophy in your mind of why we wrote it into our laws of flag lots?
Sure, so they're not, in my experience, I haven't seen a lot of cities that prohibit flag lots. So I think it's probably just an access control issue, so you don't have, you limit the number of driveways and access points along the road. And I think it's because it's a thinner, and I'm just speculating here, because I wasn't here when this ordinance was passed. It also, it reduces the physical presentation of each property, so you're kind of reducing that wide open field. At each property, if you have a minimum of 200 feet along that frontage, you're maintaining a very open presentation. But when you have a driveway that's maybe there's a fence on each side, then you're kind of narrowing things up, and that doesn't really align, I think, with the aesthetic that Barbara was trying to maintain here.
Is there any access issue for fire police?
No, because generally fire access needs to be a minimum of 24 feet, and it's well exceed that.
Well, all these other properties have standard setbacks.
Yeah, every other setback standard would have to be met through the plating process. You need utility easements, along Porter Road, their building setbacks of the RE2 district, they can and would have to be met. Through the plating process.
Normal flag lot, I remember right, has problems with who maintains the road, who takes care of the property beside the road, so normally they're separated with 2 people, one on each side. This one only has 1 person.
Yeah, so I think you might be referring to if there's a single driveway, say there was a single driveway in the flag part of that lot. And the property immediately to the right took access from that same driveway.
Yeah.
But in this case, that out property that's not part of this project, they have their own driveway. And so lot 4, as it shows right now, they would be responsible for 100% of that driveway maintenance and use, without any other property using it.
And this owner does not own those 2
There it is.
developed properties.
I don't believe it's not included in their development proposal. They can maybe specify if there's any variation from that.
Is that an existing home on the lower,
Yeah, the two outlots both have homes on them, I believe.
even the one that says Denton ISD?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But that's not 2 acres.
It's a platted lot though. I don't know what the circumstances were. You know, there's a lot of properties in Bartonville and in all the cities that are less than, and it could have been created before the current zoning ordinance was in place. There's a lot of circumstances, but I can leave it at that.
Do you have any idea what the depth is on lot 4 for the two other private properties? On how long that little section, that 100 foot or 109 foot flagpole part would be?
Well, it shows that the total depth from Porter Road to the western end of their property, basically the upper end, again, it's a turn 90 degrees,
Yeah,
is about 716 feet. So it's a little bit more than halfway, so I'd say maybe 370 feet or so until you get to the back of the property that says Denton ISD.
okay,
That's eyeballing it, but I think that's about right.
thank you.
The applicant is here, if you'd come up to the front so the chair can. Where are you in?
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and your address.
Jeffrey Warren, my home address is in Denton, Texas, 3812 La Mancha, Denton, Texas. My office is in Grapevine, Texas, on Main Street.
Thank you.
The answer, thank you for taking time out of your busy day to be here and visit with me on this. Been doing this for a while, and I can tell you that I've never found a perfect lot. It's since we left the Garden of Eden. And this being 22 acres, some of the hardships on this one is it's a beautiful 22 acres, but it has been cut up a lot. So the two lots in the center are actually two very nicely established homes. And some of the owners are here today. And I visited with them and tried to get their support because this affects them. And so I visited with all of them individually and answered many of their questions long before we got here. Especially, I'm on the point, because this lot right here has this L shape, all around their home. So that would be the Delcids, and Gary Delcid is here. And they submitted letters, and I've already submitted those to you, and you can read those, I'm sure, after I finish my little plot here. To answer a couple of questions, the lease for that is one of our other hardships is this lease. I shouldn't say this on public meeting, but they really kind of took advantage of the family because they really cut this property up tremendously. And so there is easements going along Porter Road. There's easements going on the south side, and there's an easement going diagonally through the property, which doesn't allow us to build. And I've submitted, but very late today, and Ms. Montgomery's, because we didn't get all of this until just recently. This afternoon, she wasn't able to probably put it in the presentation, but I can pass this sheet around to you. But I'll give it to you so you can have it a little bit later. The lease is actually 2 acres, exactly. And it's 0.4 acres for the easement going down the side is what they have. So it theoretically meets the requirement, but the lease is for another almost 90 years still left on it. So it won't happen in any of our lifetimes for that to ever change hands or do anything. We can't do anything with it. So it would stay as it is, for a very, very long time, unless they just give it up. But I haven't seen that happen in my time very often. Does oil and gas ever give up their properties? In fact, I've never seen that happen. Yes, do you have a question?
I do, is it right, or you want to finish? No,
No, I'll answer whatever you need. You tell me. I'm at your.
well, I was gonna ask that, Rusty Bryce had a well on his lot. And he talked to their developers and they capped it and ended it and closed everything down. Did you actually see if there's any way they would?
Oh, we wish we could. don't wanna get too much into but the family's passed away, the couple that was there, and their kids have it in a trust right now. And then we're buying it from that trust. They give a one-time fee to the family, and they really aren't getting any royalties on it anymore, and it's, the other problem is that, it's producing, as you see, the big buildings there, condensation, so these things are fairly tall, they're 2 stories tall. And so part of their lease agreement was that they had to put up a screen fence to go around it. I submitted some pictures, I don't think they made it to their screen fence is falling down. They were supposed to pay the family back taxes for every year, they don't know that. We found that out for them, we're helping them get their back taxes back for them. And the things we try to do because the way the stipulation in their lease is unless you bill them for it, they don't have to pay it. It's a pretty cool deal, but it's not really, so we're helping through that process, but because of that, and you can't see in this picture, but it's very wooded around there, so most people driving down Porter Road can't see it. We want to keep it that way, because nobody wants to build next to that, right? So it's heavily wooded. I have another picture. I'll show you, it was on another.
Pull up some of the pictures that you sent.
Here's one that has aerial, I'll pass it around, so you can do that. It's kind of a Google Earth version, and lets you see where the trees are and the trees aren't. Because that's gonna come up here, I'm sure, between that and neighbors. And most people are concerned about how many trees would we take out. We are not a David Wheatley firm, we're not out there, we're not gonna strip mine this thing. Usually people that we build for, I do strictly custom high-end one-off homes. Been doing it for 33 years in the area. I've built in Bartonville before, and so it would be, we usually take out a minimum amount of trees as possible to fit the footprint of the house. And that's how it normally goes, but, yes, ma'am.
It doesn't really show, or this doesn't really show elevation, is there a chance
That's
that?
a very good question. This is the survey, 1983, hand drawn. Hard to read, it's all I got right now. And the reason why I come to this meeting without having a full survey yet and all this, and I want, unless we can get this to work, with the 6 lots, it's not really, we're not able to purchase the property and be able to put all the other pieces together, so I didn't want to spend tens of thousands of dollars in engineering and all the things that go with it, survey work. Until we know that we can at least get this thing, the concept approved. Then the rest is on me to review all replats and get down the road and pass all the things that gotta go on that. It's a big channel after the next step, but, so, maybe, I know, can you go back to the other picture, would that be okay, is that too hard?
This one? Is it that one?
Okay, while you're here, this is Porter Road, right here, this is the Carlton home that's on there right now. If you're familiar with the area, it's kind of got a lot of vehicles up on blocks and it's kind of rough looking. And I know it's been a problem for the city for a while, but we get to clean all that up, guys. In this process, that's one of the pluses of it. And then, this 2 acres right there is that side behind it. It's not a line, here's another easement that goes straight through. You can kind of tell if you drive by there because you're gonna see through all the trees, there's a swath of it. Somebody took a big mower, cut it out, like kind of like they do for 345K power lines. It looks much the same. So we gotta build around that and make that still all look good and make that, there's also this thing going on. What's that?
What easement is that for?
That's another gas line. There's a gas line buried underneath there.
So it's a gas line access in case there's an issue with it.
Right, and it's a maintenance thing, so we divided the lots purposely, so we'll take the old junky place out. And build a new place there on 2 acre lot, and there'll be another 2 acre home over here, and then there's another, then this becomes 3 acre, and everything else is bigger. 3 to 4 acres, and the big one is, and the flag shaped one is 5+ acres. One, it gives us only get access to it. 2, the reason for it is because if you had to ask for a variance for something, you want to give something back. That's my experience. And that lot is the lot everybody's going to want. To answer your question, if you can go back to the picture that looks, I don't know, one like this maybe, or, yeah. Yeah. This right here, this is the high point, right here, where this. That's what the, maybe I did that, I don't know.
Well, Sherry's bringing that back up. On the thing you passed around, It's showing that that one estate home on the right of those two, you said you call them established homes, is currently for sale. Is that right?
Well, it's supposed to be going for sale this month, that's what I understand, yes. But there is, I talked to the owner, and she said, it's going, I haven't really looked at the sign on today, but I think it's going, I want to talk to her on the phone, and very nice person, and said, it's going for sale this month.
Is it going for sale? Did you talk to her before, explain all this? And then that's why it's going for sale?
Oh, no. No, it's a family issue, why it's going to fail, they've been working on it for a while too. And they haven't been living there for a while.
Okay.
That's what I asked one other question. At some point, probably the family that is deceased that owned it was paid to give that right away. And to give that.
They did it all in one shot back in 2010, thereabouts. They sold all that. Pennies on the dollar, but they did, and this kind of sad story. So, and they passed away, and so there's one home here. This home right here is at Mill Sid's. There's this home here, and this is, Julie.
That's the one going for sale.
Yeah, for sale, just popping up sometime, soon, it has nothing to do with us. It was already in the process. So trying to get back to answering your question, Mr. Brown, this is the beautiful spot. This is on top of the hill, it overlooks the lake. That lake is all, one of the other pictures I passed around, you can actually see the lake on, and it's pretty well taking up most of this area back in here, pretty well, they're a private lake, I share with the ranch that's behind here, but nobody really knows, that's why we call it hidden lake, nobody even knows it exists, but it's beautiful, and it's very large. It's something, 2-3 acres
Are
wide.
you referring to this blue area?
No, that there's floodplain, but you kind of see past that thing and see there's a lake underneath all that layer, can you see it?
Yeah.
I know, we got so many information on there, sometimes it gets a little cumbersome to see it, but it's a big lake, and I also, let me do this. This does not give you perspective. But here's a picture of the lake. And I submitted that digitally, but you can see that going around there. It's a beautiful lake. It's well clean water and nice. And so that is the most desirable piece of ground on the whole of all the acreage. That's what everybody's gonna want to have. So we picture it, to meet the requirements, a nice gated drive going back in there, with all these are gated. Right here, you go back there and the home will probably sit right about here overlooking their lake. Now, gets to be floodplain outside and around the lake, but they're not gonna build down there anyway. It's just, so that was the theory behind that. So with that in mind, our hardships are, we got lots that are existing. I can't do anything about homes that are there, and they're very nice homes. I can't do anything about the utility easements that go across there. I have no, we can't do, so we have to design lots that fit around the easements and still make it beautiful and desirable. And we have to do all this and also keep our neighbors happy. And so to do that, we've offered we would probably come in and clean this. This is very thick. You and I could not walk through most of it. It's kind of Greenbrier City. It's not gonna take care of it for a long, long time. So we come in there with a mulching machine and we cut some of the other brush. It's got beautiful big oak trees in there. Can't hardly get to them, see them, but they're there. And then we've given our neighbors, and we visited all of them, a buffer zone of their choosing, whether it's 20 feet, 30 feet. If they want a natural God-given hedgerow, it's already there. We just leave it. But most of the people that live here aren't gonna wanna see this home, and these folks aren't gonna wanna see there. And I'm in the building and architectural business. I've owned this firm for, like I said, 30 years. I designed 90% of the homes myself that we build for. And we know that we design them not just to meet people's lifestyle or meet their personal tastes, but to give them an environment that they can pick the boat and look out their windows and see the greatest assets and hide the greatest liabilities. That's just how it is. So that's kind of how this goes. I'm sure you got lots of questions. Hit me up and I'll try to answer what I can for you.
So I just want to clarify, the utility section is still operating.
it's still an easement, an active easement. I've heard from the neighbors there that they don't see many trucks and it's not really producing much right now. But also gas prices are a little low right now, and this is how gas companies kind of work. I don't estimate because it's, when they get gas prices high, they produce it. When they go down, they shut it off. And they don't want to produce it. So I really don't know. Our only contact with the gas company, these companies help them, encourage them to maintain their lease agreements with the family at this point. We haven't been talking about anything else. And we have no intention that they would probably ever sell us that piece of ground. That would have made our life a whole lot easier before we ever came here. That's probably not a reality then. So
They own it or they just lease it?
they leased it, but it's a 99-year lease and they did it in 2010, so it's a long time, 2010 and 2011. And thereabouts, there's a couple leases in there. It's gonna be a lot longer than I'm gonna be here to be able to do anything with that, so,
And the easement is from the same utility, the same gas company?
yes.
Is that the easement that goes diagonal across the property? What is that easement for? What type of utility is that?
There's a gas line buried underneath there. You'll kind of see it on Google Earth. You can kind of see that map I gave you there, aerial, but also if you zoomed out, you can kind of see that line. Just like you see a power line going across Google Earth, you see it for miles and miles. It travels all across Barton.
Sherry, I think you can see it on page 27.
This presentation?
On our VOA presentation. And you're saying that that is the same, the diagonal one is the same company or a different company than the other gas?
It's on this lease right here. So, I understand, since this lease came out, the company's changed hands a couple times, and that's
If you
pretty
don't-
common.
If you don't know, that's okay, but I think we're just trying to determine if those are the same companies or different.
Pass that around, if you want. That's the easement right there. It's a little hard to read, but the digital version I shipped over a little easier to see than doing one. But yes, it's an easement there. As far as I can tell you off the top of my head, I just think it's the same one. Mockingbird, I think it is today. But again, it's all gas related easements either way. And it's,
This shows for that, but it doesn't show for that's the other 2 acre one. That's the
that's a
other
2
gas.
acre one, yeah. The diagonal one's the one that goes across the property. Then there's another easement that goes across the front, to
So
the
you're
right.
saying Mockingbird and Mockingbird?
As far as I know, I think that's correct, but I'll have to go back and look at all these records, to be honest with you.
That's okay.
I've looked at a lot of them lately, so.
Yeah.
But they're all gas related.
If you were to, make this eliminate it being a flag lot, is there any other way you can go about doing it?
I don't believe so. I would, because of the fact that, it's only so much frontage. No matter what we do, I only have X amount of feet. I can't divide it by 200 only so many times.
But you're gonna really steal some land from the others to make this 2 acre.
Their lots aren't even 200 feet wide. You know, this lot right here is already not 200 feet wide. This one right now does not meet today's standard required. The lot that is in here right now that the existing home is on, doesn't meet, it's only 1 acre lot. It doesn't meet these, we would make that go away, right? And now it'd be a 2 acre lot. So the ones here existing that you don't see in this picture, but you can see in the aerial view, one I passed around, well, you can see the junky cars and so forth. Yeah, that one there. And there's a yellow line that goes around that. That's the existing 1 acre lot. We would make that go away and be a 2 acre, and that'll all clean up. So the things that you probably don't like about the area, those problems will go away.
So the Germain is the white roof, the other lot. That's owned, that's not for sale.
No, and the owner's here. And you have a letter of support from us from there. I think she wants to speak. Or you know, he wants to speak. He's here. That's Mr. Del Cid. Right, so he's here. Yeah, I visited with them extensively about this and gave them the option, how much you want me to clean the brush out around it and what we'd like to do once we're there. We tried it again. The view of this is to turn that into a park-like environment, not a, and it's beautiful. If you get past the green briars and the copperheads.
Oh, I was wondering, But you wouldn't be just much value to it to make this a park area down around 1 acre, 1 acre.
The hard is, you get public access to it would be a challenge, because it's. You would have.
We could use the public park.
You know, it's one of those things, getting the access of all of it down here, this pond over here streams through, kind of swampy right now through here. In fact, the owners here, they'll talk about it in their letter and here, between the two of them, I think they got a little bit of water issue that runs between there. And they were hoping if we get these approved for 200 feet, instead of being 227, they're gonna address it here with you. They would like us to pull and make these 200 feet even and sell them a strip for this owner and this owner here, so they could have a bigger buffer, because when their homes were built, they're not the original owners. They built on all that acreage, but they built it right on the back fence. And long before all our time, but this is what happens, you know, and so they would like a bigger buffer, and we could agree with them, we can go set that back there, and then maybe they'll give them some. Not a lot of footage, but they'll get 50 feet out of it, and then that would allow them to have a little bit more distance if they want to address the drainage issues and move it all back down to here. They can do that. We're willing to work with them on that, and it's in a couple of their letters, actually. If you'll see the support letter, which I'm sure you're gonna read here in a little bit, it's from Mr. McCollum, she's here tonight, and Mr. Tom Holmes is here tonight, and that's their intention. Our goal is not to solve everybody's problems, but if we can give a little buffer like that and sell a little piece off to them to help them do that and still meet all the requirements to get these 6 lots in, then everybody wins out of it. I tell you, if I was gonna live in any lot out here and pick anyone that I could afford to live on myself, lot number 4, the flag lot, would be the flagship of the deal, because it's so beautiful, and it sits on a hill overlooking that lake. And that's the only way I can get to it, is to do it this way.
You know, you said that a couple times, that the lot is so beautiful. And one of our criteria is that we have to make sure that it's not just based on, you know, financial gain and that type of stuff. And you could easily combine lot 3 and 4 and go down to 6 lots. I'm sure that doesn't make your underwriting happy. But if it's such a beautiful lot, a lot of people need 6+ acres to get ag on fees or things like that. I mean, we have a lot of acre estates here in Bartonville who have kind of understood that and are going to 6 acres. Have you run the numbers to just
We have,
really go to town and put 3 and 4 together, and then you wouldn't need any variance? It would be wide enough and you could still accomplish everything you need.
we have, but what happens here, there's more pieces to that than that, and the easements are kind of my biggest problem.
Okay,
You know, because I'm gonna draw my finger on, might touch your screen, put all these fingerprints on it as you go through here, but. This easement is going right from here and cutting right across this right here. So it would, I can't. It just doesn't make the line up really well. Besides that, we've already tried to accommodate by taking one lot, we had a different layout here and trying to do it differently, and we tried to cut a lot off. But it's true, underwriting is seriously affected by the finances to be able to make that happen. But this right here still stays a private lot and exceeds well beyond the zoning for this area. So I was hoping that would offset any negatives that would go with this thing, because my experience has been as Mr. Ryan has advised, very seldom do I have seen flag lots in most towns not be against the codes. But when it does, it's usually because somebody's making a narrow driveway, you know, to get down the way. This is not, it's already over 100 feet wide, so it's a pretty good sized lot in itself. Trying to get as much ground as I possibly could to make that variance on it. So that's, I'd love to take you out and walk it with you, but in reality, I can't really do that until we clean it up, because you really couldn't get to the
Where
brush.
do you see that house being built on for?
Right here. Overlooking the lake on this one. Most of the other ones are gonna be up here, right? You can't see it in this picture, but the other one that has air, there's actually a tree line that goes here, there's a meadow back here behind them, and there's a meadow in the front, there's a tree line here, and the rest of this in the blue, which is kind of floodplain, is heavily wooded, not buildable. Pretty, but not buildable, you know, but it's, so these homes could be either here, here, or here and here, depending what they want to do with that tree line.
Is any of this a flood zone?
The blue lines are flood zones.
Okay.
How do you develop with the easement? Meaning,
But that-
are you limited to where the house can go?
Yes, I can't put the home, on any home, across there.
Anywhere.
I mean,
Driveways are okay though.
and yes, I can cross them, but they can't build anything, and that depends on the right? And even then, they don't like me to cross them anymore than I have to, so they allow this one right here, it's kind of driveway crossing it down, and so they'll allow me to probably do it one time. And that's how we get to this access, but I actually tried to put these lots actually where they're separated between two of them, so I don't have to.
Right, okay.
Because how they usually do it, and I've had to do this in Argyle before, we can put the driveway there. But if they ever want to get in there and cut her up, guess what? You lose the driveway at your cost.
Okay.
And I try not to put my owners into that position. So we would design typically around all that, which makes my building pad size very limited because of this. And also limited because I don't want to take on any more trees than I have to.
Do you know, and Ryan, I know, is there criteria on how far off these utility easements that are running underground before you can build? Is there a certain footage
Oh, yeah.
that you have to be off?
My experience is that there's no buffer beyond the edge of the easement. Easement's way bigger than the actual utility.
Right.
And that easement itself gives the buffer they need to do the construction work, dig and setback and things like that. So you could most likely build your foundation up to the edge of the buffer if you wanted. I probably wouldn't advise that, but legally you probably could go anywhere outside the building setbacks and outside of the easement footprint itself.
So does that mean that the people who own the well or the easement, if they have an issue, they can access those people's property anytime?
Good question. There's a road that comes back here that gets back there now, it's established.
You might be asking about the diagonal.
But the diagonal one that goes across there, theoretically, they could. That's the access that gets along the south side edge. Theoretically, they could. There's not really maintenance to do there. There is a riser. Sitting right here. Now they actually get that back here. But yes, they could. That's part of the easement that they have to give up when they buy the property, that they could come out and do maintenance on it. They can't damage your home and they can't tear up things like that and all that and so forth, but they could, it's similar to something, the power line that goes down the edge of your property, if they need to go do work on it, they can try to treat it, to keep away from it. These are all subterranean, so if they don't trim them like they do on power lines, that's the same kind of concept. I know I'm getting long with it, you tell me, I'll keep answering as much as you got.
If we could get back on topic, talk about the variance for lot 4 is what we're requesting. We do know that there are concerns, and I'm sure that the audience will bring up some of their concerns for the site in the back, but I just want to make sure that we get through all of those. So if you have any more questions pertaining to lot 4, we can address those before we go to the public hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to call for an executive session.
Let's do the public hearing first.
Well, I thought that was,
Okay. I'd like to open the public hearing, being 6:59 p.m. Does anyone wish to speak?
I have a couple of statements to read, and then I'll also have a list of people that have signed up to speak.
Thank you.
First statement is from Kathy Morales. She is the current owner of 1288 Porter Road. I have had the opportunity to review the concept drawings as provided by Jeff Morrow and Design Classics, and wish to formally express my full support for this plan as presented for the property located at 1288 Porter Road. It is clear that careful consideration has gone into every detail, and I believe their vision will be a wonderful addition to this community. I look forward to seeing it come to life and the benefits it will bring. Having grown up on this land and in the community, nothing could be more important to my family and the 5 generations that spent time here than knowing that this place we call home will be preserved and cherished by other families for generations to come. I am confident that their plan aligns well with the future of Bartonville and will serve the community's interests effectively. Second one, and he's also here to speak, but it's Elizabeth and Greg Del Cid. We are the residents at 1234 Porter Road, and are aware of the request for construction and design around our property for Hidden Lake Estates in Bartonville, Texas, and find this acceptable regarding the request for development. Third one is from Cassidy McCollum at 800 Rockgate Road. This letter is written in conditional support of the proposed development of 20.51 acres on Porter Road in Bartonville. We are homeowners of a property directly adjacent to the proposed development and have discussed the plans with the developer, Jeff Warrow. Mr. Warrow has given us a copy of the plan and discussed his intentions for the property. We are in support of the proposed flag lot and reduced road frontage for that one lot. We would need additional information on any subsequent variances in regards to the remaining 5 lots. Additionally, we are interested in purchasing a small portion of the property to create a buffer between the proposed new development and our property, as our home sits very close to the property line. A buffer zone of 54 feet would be ideal and would allow the remaining 2 potential lots to conform to the required 200-foot minimum. Mr. Warrow has stated his intention to preserve the natural vegetation as much as possible while cleaning out the overgrowth. With regard to that intent, I would like to request an independent certified arborist report to ensure the retention of healthy trees and minimize the impact of development. I believe Mr. Warrow has good intentions for the vegetation. However, this seems like a simple check to ensure the town of Bartonville retains as many old growth trees as possible. And then the next one is from Deborah Campbell. And her representative is here and they have provided some pictures if you want to pass those around while I read the statement. Again, Deborah Campbell at 790 Rockgate Road. I am the homeowner of 790 Rockgate Road in Bartonville, a property directly adjacent to the proposed development, and I'm writing this letter in conditional support of the variance request. I am away on a business trip and would have liked to have attended the meeting in person. Thomas Hoffman, who resides with me, will be attending and is a registered architect in the state of Texas, has my permission to speak on my behalf. We received a copy of the plan and reached out to Mr. Warrow to discuss. We are in support of the proposed flag lot and reduced road frontage for lot 4, as well as the extension of the screen wall around the existing gas lease area adjacent to lot 1. Understanding that the minimum frontage of the 2E residential zone is 200 feet, we ask that Mr. Warrow be allowed to reduce the width in lots 5 and 6 to the minimum of 200 feet and provide a 54 buffer to the existing residences on 790 and 800 Rockgate Road up to the delineated wetlands area. Both residents are adjacent to the side property line or the development with a minimum setback and drainage from Porter Road to the east affects the proposed property as well as ours. In the undeveloped forested area behind our properties, we have issues with poor drainage, with ponding water and swamp-like conditions in the spring and fall that breed insects and mosquitoes. Our concern is that where we look out into a forest today, we would now be looking into a backyard at lot 6 and vice versa, as it is our rear yard and their side yard. Lot 6 is a large amount of wetland in the rear, so it could be assumed that the new owner, which may or not be the developer, would be able to remove all trees up to the property line by right to maximize their rear yard. We have spoken with the developer and feel he would work with us, but if approved, the property sold would not have the same assurances unless it was recorded as part of the variance approval process as either a designated buffer zone or a development restriction. Our neighbors have mentioned we would also be interested in purchasing a small portion of the property to create a buffer between the proposed new development and our property. Those are all the statements that I have, and now I'm going to call those that have signed up to speak. Thomas Hoffman, please come up. And Chair Baumgartner will swear you in and
Yes, thank you. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I did.
And
Thomas Hoffman, 790 Rockgate Road,
thank you.
Bartonville, Texas. The letter kind of sums up what we talked about. One of the interesting things is it doesn't really show. This is our pool. And this is our house, and this is the Cassock's house. We are 6 acres subdivided into 3. We got the pool, the pond, it's great, but the house is retaining wall barely 15 feet off of that, and if you look at the picture, the difference is we're about 8 feet in the air, so we're not even looking down. We're looking at the tree level and the tall trees. So the concern is just any kind of development along the side. If someone wants to put a house in, 200 feet is a good distance, but 150-foot house with a barn and most of the residences, and I'm an architect, people are building everything but an ADU on their properties now. We heard earlier about a 40-foot by 60-foot barn. I had 2 donkey sheds, I need a barn. And that was the one part that we didn't take with the other part of the property. So speaking of Mr. Walro, I think he's got the right intentions. Our only issue is if he does sell the property off and he's not the builder, what are the people gonna do? Because as of right, they have a 15-foot side yard setback, I believe. Because it's an RE2. I'm not sure about accessory buildings, if there's an additional distance. He's looking up now.
20 feet.
20 feet. One of the pictures you see, the barn that was actually built and their RV shed here. When we look at the back, because of the elevation changes, it's 30 feet above me. So we're a little worried about what can happen in this area. If the houses stay at the front, that's great with all this, I wouldn't say swamp land, but it's, after the day, my river is about 50 feet wide running down through here. Because we have a large pond at the front, which picks up all the water from everybody north of there. But that's our concern. The rest of the property, the flag lot, usually there's a driveway, and then there's 30 feet for a driveway between, so you have 3 mailboxes together. It's a flag. 109 feet is, for an architect, is a dream. You can almost put a house on it. So we're very happy with that. And generally in support of everything other than, he's got a lot of the trees in the back and trying to keep those trees. It's not been touched for 50, 60, 70 years. There's at least 3 of my trees that are over the fence, 2 of his over my fence, that are dead. And laying on their sides, so. That's our,
I want to thank you for coming out. Public participation is so helpful. The items that you're talking about too, if whatever happens today, that's gonna be at a DMC. So I would also, encourage you to come to that too. But I just want to thank you for coming out and.
and again, if it's an easement or something that's dedicated, because I've been variance, you can append it. And make it more permanent, and that's what we're looking for.
Okay. Thank you.
We don't need 4 acres, that's why we didn't think 6 acres, but. We're willing to do it if we need to. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Cassidy Nicole.
Ms. Bryce Rocking. We swear to tell the truth, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. State your name, please.
My name is Cassidy McCollum. I live at 800 Rockgate Road in Bartonville. I know we're here to discuss the variances requested for the flag lot and the reduced frontage on lot 4, and I am in support of those. I think they will be fine. I think they'll look very nice. I wanted to ensure that the variances are only applicable to lot 4 and not the other subsequent lots. So if they get approved, because when I first looked at it, it was a little bit fuzzy on the reading. It was like a variance of a reduced lot frontage, but just specifically for lot 4. And the fence on lot 1 also, I think that would be great. And the only reason I mentioned the trees and then the buffer strip right now is to get it on record at this point to be, I know my dad is actually a civil engineer. He does a lot of land planning and development, and I know sometimes they can claim that trees are diseased or sick or aged or in bad shape, and then they can use that as an excuse to strip down trees. I don't believe that this developer has that in mind. But like my neighbor said, what if somebody else buys that lot and has another developer and they say, oh, well, I don't want all those leaves in my pool. Something along those lines. If they build a pool, they don't want leaves somewhere down the road. I just want to put that on record as a concern that we have through the planning process, and I will definitely come back to the planning and zoning meeting again and make the same comments. And I do live right here, and this is our driveway, and that's our, carport, and so we live super close to the property line. We have asked if they would sell us the 50-foot buffer zone, which would still put those other two lots within the minimum 200-foot lot, the 200-foot minimum, which would be great, but again, not applicable for today, but I wanted it to be on record as something that we've discussed and that I have concerns about. That's all. Do y'all have any questions for me?
Right, Michelle, you want to tell her about, anything about the trees, they have to be permanent, it's a totally different, we're not allowed to respond back during public hearing. Oh, then you should have told me that once.
Your thing, if they combine those two lots,
Are you talking about lots 3 and 4?
no, or the ones. Five,
Yeah, this one?
yeah.
There you go.
No, it was really,
We need to let people talk and then we can have some deliberation. We're not allowed to respond to the.
Okay.
thank you guys,
You're right.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
The next one, I believe, is Katrina Frank.
Hi, I'm Katrina Frank. I live at 1250, oh, sorry.
I need to swear you in.
Okay,
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. All right, now name it.
Sorry, I'm Katrina Frank. I live at 1254 Bridle Bit Road, which is on the top. I have this property, and I haven't spoken to the developer before, so this is kind of my first introduction to his plans, aside from the emailed presentation that we got, the PDF and the little letter that said, hey, come to the meeting, so here I am. The pipeline runs across my property also, so I can answer some of the questions that you all had and things that it is not the same company that owns the pipeline that owns the compressor station. Atmos Energy runs the pipeline. They will drive whatever they want onto your property whenever they want. If you're lucky, they'll call you first to put your horses in. If you're lucky. Otherwise, you'll find trucks, excavators, you name it, on top of the pipeline with your horses, all the things. It's fun. Sometimes they get a bit close, sometimes it won't. So it will be a challenge for whoever purchases that property that they will have to just deal with, just like all the rest of us have done since forever. I've lived in my house for almost 12 years. So I remember when Mr. Carlton was dealing with all of these things. So anyway, that is a concern for me as far as access to that. You can put hard surface over it, but they will tear it up if they need to. They clear cut it. They will come in and clear it. They do it about every 8 years. They come in with a big buzzy machine and they don't tell you when they're coming. They just mow it down on top of that pipeline. Because they say that it is to maintain the look of the rest of the property. So if part of it is in your pasture, all of it's in your pasture. And they don't want any trees on it because they fly a plane or a drone over it so they can see if there's a leak. If there's a leak, they will come and fix it. But they are not careful about doing that. So just be aware that that's kind of how they handle things. And that's my issue with the pipeline company and not. So I have concerns that are varied about the plot in general, but specific to the flag lot on lot 4. What water company are you planning this house to be serviced by? The same one that the current Carlton house is served by, or the one that Greg's house is?
Leave this farm on water is going up that street up into Cassidy's house.
Do you have Flower Mound water? Okay, so there's 3 different water services, so you're counting on Flower Mound. Okay.
I talked to 2 of the 3. I don't know about the 3rd.
Okay, so I'm just worried because the house is not in Flower Mound. I don't know if they will serve the house.
Cross Timbers will provide it as well. They've already given us, they're working on just for us now.
Perfect. Okay.
Ma'am, can you direct your comments to us, and if you
Sorry.
have questions, you can say them, and the applicant can address all the public comments at
Okay.
once.
Sorry. The other question I have is in regards to the vibration easement that affects 2 acres right here. It hasn't been mentioned yet. It was filed in 2014 in October. And it was with a 3rd company, which I believe is the Mockingbird company that owns that, or the lease to that compressor station. Has been sold, as he mentioned, many times since that was initially executed. But there is an easement that covers the current house. and the back part of lots 1, 2, 3, and maybe part of lot 4, I don't know quite how it overlays. That I believe they compensated the Carltons for some of the unpleasantness that goes with living that close to the compressor station. Damage to their home involved with loud noises, vibration on the ground, things like that. My concern with that flag lot is that, yes, it is beautiful if you look to the northwest. If you turn around and look south, it is not beautiful. And they also pollute the air, it smells, they pollute, there's noise pollution involved with that compressor station, and clearly vibrations is filed with the county. So I don't know that siting a house there is going to be as valuable as it might be made to seem. And it seems like this is forcing this issue just to get more money out of the property. And that's where I'm hung up on, is that number 8, which is letter something that I don't remember which one it matches. Also, you had a question about the underbrush and the grass and things like that. Mr. Carlton had a wildlife exemption on that property. That's how he didn't have it agricultural initially. He would build little homes for wood rats and whatever other things. That's why it is the way it is up until the point when he passed away. And then it has not been maintained ideally. But it's a natural habitat back there. And so whatever we're doing here is going to affect that. And I just want to make sure that we're taking that all into consideration. I know you all are asking lots of good questions. I appreciate that.
Just understanding you, can I ask a question? We have to let people speak. Okay. We're going to have some discussion. Okay.
So in order to get the tax exemption on the property, Mr. Carlton had certain things he was doing to set up wildlife habitats on the property. And part of that was not clear cutting that back area. So that's why it is overgrown in the end. Obviously, nature likes that. So we want to maintain nature, you know. And it sounds like, again, this developer is interested in doing that, but there is no guarantee that he is going to be around forever. He's indicated that he's not. In which case, what happens to those things, especially my concern, I know it's not related to lot 4, is that flag lot back there with the compressor station sitting on it. And that's not the topic at hand, but the overall plot concerns me a lot because specifically of that as well. So, if you have any other questions about the easements, I may be able to address that just because I am party to some of it. Thanks.
You have questions for him?
No, we need to make sure. Is there anybody else that has not signed up? That
I signed back here, you just didn't get it. Can I
Okay.
bring it to you?
Please. Now, Sheriff Algarner will swear you in, and then we'll have to ask for your name and your address.
Do you swear to affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Your
name and address, please.
Kim Land, and my address is 1204 Bridleville Road. I'm actually Katrina's neighbor to the south, so we're right here. She's here, I'm here. And those compressor areas have been, the gas compressors have been certainly a subject of focus for our family when we bought the property. I did talk with Don and his wife, I think that's his name, Don Carlson, who owned the property. And I do have, he was a lovely couple, but my understanding was they attempted to try to sell the gas company, whichever gas company at the time in 2010, put in the compressors, and Bartonville declined. That's my understanding. I could have that wrong, but that was what I was told. So the gas company, in order to beat that, did the 99-year lease, which is basically, like Jeff was saying, none of us would be here to, be around when it's over. So frustrated a little bit as a neighbor, thinking who in the world would ever, if you haven't seen them, I wish I'd brought my picture, but you can barely see there, but they are a sight to behold. They are massive. And I had, when Mr. Carlton, was alive, he was very diligent about the access road to shut the gates, and the area was kept very tidy, like his property was. And then it was obvious when he passed, because things began to deteriorate. I actually say that's kind of Sanford and Son when I look over at the property now, because it's just pretty eclectic, arrangement of many, many things, vehicles and all kinds of things. But I made contact with Eagle Ridge Energy, which is the gas company that owns the lease for the property. And they don't, I guess the Carltons or the trust owns the land, but they own the 99-year lease. And he, in talking with him recent, I have on pretty good authority, they are willing to negotiate to get rid of it. And I feel like for the city of Bartonville, that it's almost like a second bite of the apple, where initially they kind of skirted the, no, we're not gonna allow this. And I guess somehow beat that with the 99-year lease. It's an opportunity with this family, these children, that obviously want to capitalize on a beautiful tract of land to then divide their parts out. I just think it's an opportunity for that to be addressed, because there are safety issues. And I question the gentleman I spoke to. I'm going to keep him anonymous because I just don't want to divulge that. But I'm, like I've sworn, I'm telling what I was told is that when the son came in and was living on the property after the parents had passed, we'd hear fireworks, we'd hear all kinds of things that you don't necessarily love to hear when you know there are gas compressor units outside in your back. And so just truly safety concerns. So I made contact with this gentleman and kind of said, I don't know. I knew the gentleman that Mr. Carlton was very diligent about the safety element. I'm not so sure now. And I said, I feel like, I mean, should I be concerned about safety? And he said, there are risks to the compressors being back there. And my issue, because I don't dislike what's being proposed here. I don't know all the details like neighbors do, but I mean, that to me looks like a great opportunity to develop Bartonville. But I feel like that's something that has to be, we just can't fence it around or keep it like this or raise fences and make it part of the no man's land area, because there's no way that this couple, when they had these big monstrosities built, that they knew they weren't compromising their property. I mean, it would have to be dealt with like we are dealing with it today. And so to me, it's an opportunity to try to negotiate with this gas company, either the developer, but I'd go back to the kids. And I think this gas company, obviously they would try to get the most out of it they could, but I think that to buy them out of the lease and get that property, get that stuff, the compressors and all the equipment out of there, and to make that area safe. And because I actually called the police chief and asked him about that area, and he wasn't, I mean, I think he's fairly new, lovely person, but I don't think he was really, I feel like this property is kind of not really managed by anybody. And my thoughts are, it is something that we should make sure that they're adhering to code and that it's safe. And I feel confident that it's not happening. And it directly affects me because I see it. I can see it from our property, and it is an eyesore. So to me, if you can negotiate with a willing, the people that own the lease, this gas company, I feel like that should be part of this whole discussion of development to get that addressed. So that's just my biggest, I didn't really have enough time to prepare. I didn't know this meeting was happening, so I'm kind of thrown together here. But anyway, I think I pretty much went over what I wanted to say. So thank you very much.
Is there anybody else that wishes to speak?
All right, we'll close the public hearing at 7:25 p.m.
I'd just like to say something real quick before we give the applicant a chance to address some of the public comments. Thank you everyone for coming out and, you know, speaking on this item. I just, like you said before, the only thing we're considering today is the flag lot and the amount of space that is gonna be on that flag lot. All the other concerns are not gonna be addressed today, that's gonna be down the line. We're only talking about the flag lot today, and everything else will be a future meeting. So thank you for coming and participating, but that is all that we're being considered today.
Thank you.
I call for an executive session.
We might want to give the applicant a chance to address the public comments before we go to exec.
Okay. Does the applicant have anything else to say to address the public comments?
Sure, I think I can help make some folks, let me go up here. I got a soft voice. People don't always hear.
We need them at the recording anyway, so.
Okay, can you hear me now? Excuse me right now. Okay, I think you can hear me. I was a police investigator for 27 years. I was a homicide investigator and I had nothing to do with this story, but my voice gets softer as the longer I talk. And so, and I used to watch juries almost fall out of their seats because, so if it gets that way, raise your hand and I'll raise my voice, okay? The reference to the gas company, when we initially, again, we're just put this land into contract. We have not closed. So there's a whole lot of work that has to be done. We've reached out to them for multiple reasons, to honor some of their lease agreements and so forth. They have been slow to respond to us, but I will exchange information with our neighbor who just spoke and see if they offer something on that to be able to sell it without being a Donald Trump property. Maybe that's something that's pretty worthwhile, but that's usually a long road. So we can, the easement that goes diagonally through the property, if that's all by Atlas, they're not selling us that for any. Anyway, that's just not gonna happen. They're supplying a whole lot of things. And so we don't know enough about that. As far as all the other things, I don't think I can say any more about flag lot itself, and that's really what you're concerned about here. All the other things get handled in engineering and P and Z down the road. That helps everybody feel better. And there's a whole lot of stuff that has to get handled between now and then. Our goal here is just to get a flag lot approved, because I think in the long run, it's the best option for what's out there. And as beautiful as it is, and you cannot see from where this divided line is, those compressor buildings here, because it's very wooded, but there's a clearing that starts right about here. So the back of this lot can see back there, but lot number 4 cannot see across it. Now, we plan on leaving that brushy as much as we can there, because that easement's not on that corner. And again, and you can't, the reason why when you drive down Porter Road, you really can't see those compressors, but probably from the neighbors behind, they can, because it's on a high hill, and they, I'm sorry to say, are probably suffering more from than the people that are in front of that thing. So our goal is to try to keep as much of the natural tree line there as possible. And the build will actually be in the front. The natural build is somewhere up in here, kind of in line with this White House is, would be the natural build line, which is all in front of the trees. So we would not, our goal is not to get anywhere near it back there, so I don't want anybody to see that any more than I am. So any questions I can answer for you guys that I haven't done?
I have one question, if it's okay, is who owns the mineral rights? Is that?
They're still owned by the, Stuart is still owned by the family?
She thinks she doesn't possibly the estate, but it is not part of.
It's not part of the lease, we can't see that in the lease.
They will retain.
And we haven't been able to find it yet on title search. Again, it's a pretty gray area out there. The family's owned it for a long time and we haven't been able to find all that. We don't own it. We made an offer to do it, but they turned us down to get that. So I'm not in control of those. Nor do we get a check for it. So. Anything else? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, Director Noller is requested to go into executive session. We need a second.
Second.
Now I need to call for a vote to go into executive session. All in favor?
In search of the Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551, the Board of Adjustments will convene to a closed executive session in accordance with the Texas Government Code Section 551.071, consultation with the town attorney to seek legal advice of its attorney concerning agenda item D.3. The time being 7:30 PM, I convene the Board of Adjustments into closed session.
Well, and you need to get everybody together. And all that stuff, and so we get someone.
All right, thank you, Tom. Any questions?
Time being 7:47, I convene the Board of Adjustment into regular session.
Any discussion?
Let me just say something here. We don't usually get participation in these meetings. We want to thank everyone who did get up and speak. But we have to remember that the board is required only to address the exact variance, which is the flag pole, basically, the width of the flagpole and the other variance. So, but we do want to thank everybody for participating, and we've had lively discussion this time, interesting. So,
Yes. Thank you. Yes. We do appreciate everyone's opinions. Do we need discussion?
Well, I don't know what you guys think, but I think a lot of this is just, a little bit of a financial, so if you look at the criteria. The H of it being for increased financial gain. And then also G stood out to me because this is self-induced by the previous landowner. You know, they have the gas wells put in our recent past, 2010 and whenever else they did according to the testimony. And so by doing some of those things, they inherently made this piece of land messier. And so it's a little bit self-induced as to why breaking up this parcel is so messy. So those are the two that stood out to me. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I definitely think there were some choices from the landowners or the previous landowners in what they did with their land that they got financially compensated for, and it's created a difficult piece of property.
The vote? Or have more discussion?
Well, I think too, they should put 3 and 4 together and then just not have variance.
Yeah.
That's
The
possible.
2, 3, 4 together.
I think there could be rearranged a different way for it to do away with that type of flag lot.
I agree.
Vote.
We need to have a motion before we vote.
Oh, okay. Then the motion,
Motion is approved,
approve what?
the request,
The disapprove or approve? Joe,
disapprove.
disapprove. Bottom right there, and they gotta pick one. At least one.
I'll pick 2, B and A.
Do you wanna read that?
Okay. I move to deny the request of variance to allow the construction of an accessory building.
Oh,
That's wrong.
that's fine. I'll leave it if you want. There.
I move to deny the request of variance to allow the condition creation of a 7 lot subdivision where one of the parcels will be a flag lot. The street frontage of approximately 109 feet. Subdivision will have to meet all requirements for the RA2 zoning without exception, which includes prohibition of the flag lots and a minimum front frontage 200 feet. Because the variance does not meet the requirement of the factors in zoning ordinance section A3D of appendix A, item S. And actually G and H apply.
A second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion to deny passes unanimously. Thank you, close the new meeting. Being 7:52 p.m. and 8:30.
That's it.
Thank y'all. Thank you.